Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you wherever and whenever you are tuning in. Welcome back to What Caught My Eye, or WCME Sports. I hope you guys had a great last week. I know, unfortunately, I wasn't there, but I know the boy, Kamlo, and the great Doug Howard filled in admirably for me, so that was nice to see. But I am back again. The boys are back in town, as it will. Thank you, Thin Lizzy. Just to recap our show and kind of what we do, if you're new to us, our main goal is to try to bring you and keep you up to speed with the most eye-catching and noteworthy events from the sporting landscape from the past week, to kind of keep you informed. And as I say each week, if you learn something new, then we've done our job. That's kind of the point, is to kind of educate us and make us better sports fans than we have been before. Because I think at the end of the day, that's what we all want. We all want to be able to converse in a more positive way and know, and there's never a reason to apologize for wanting and knowing more, right? So that's kind of our thing here. Before we get into our stuff, just a quick reminder to follow us on all of our social media, on Instagram, on X, and on Facebook at WCME_sports. We are also on YouTube and Spotify. That's where you'll find our episodes that drop every Wednesday at noon. You can also visit us and see these things at our website at WCMEsports.com. Now, without further ado, our first thing that we always talk about on our show is our top catch from the previous week. And so this week, our top catch was the ending or closing of the Olympics, right? So Olympics is kind of a 3-weekend type of deal. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in it. There's so many events. I think they said over 330 individual medal events that take place. And as we know,
I was wondering what the number was.
I want to say they said 332, but do not 100% fact check me on that. But as you know, too, with those, it's not just, walk out there and that event's done. They all have various levels of like preliminary rounds and qualifying rounds and semifinals and all that sorts of stuff. So it is a huge event. It's an infrastructure, undertaking of massive proportion. So it takes, basically the 3 weekends, and we just had our finishing one. The closing ceremonies were on Sunday a couple days ago. So just kind of quick recap of some of the main things, mostly Team USA oriented, from this past week. My first thing starting out was Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone. She won the 400-meter hurdles for the women in a world record time. It is the 6th time since 2021 that she's broken the world record, and each time she's broken her own world record. So literally, each time she gets on there, she's just beating herself. No one is even close to her. She may have been the most dominant athlete of the entire games, like by just pure margin of victory that she goes to. I mean, they talk about Simone Biles and the all-around and how much further ahead she was than other people, but Rebecca Andrade wasn't really that far behind her. But literally, McLaughlin-Levrone, when she's running, there's like they have to pan the camera back to get the other people in the view. So I thought that was pretty amazing.
You think Ledecky or her is the biggest gap?
Well,
Ledecky in the 1500
in that specific
event, they couldn't pan out far enough.
Yeah. It's kind of different though, because the Ledecky has also made her living on like other things, and in the other things, the rest of the world kind of caught up with her. Was McLaughlin-Levrone, that's pretty much her specialty, is 400-meter hurdles. So that's like her thing. But it's pretty crazy to watch. Do you know where her husband went to school? Andre Levrone.
I'm guessing UVA.
Yeah, he went to UVA. Was a receiver there. Next, I got a lot of track
Poor
stuff.
That's kind probably never won a game.
Yeah, no. Had some rough years. He was there. Rough years. But the last kind of week is all track stuff. The swimming stuff had kind of finished, and so you got all track stuff in the last week for the most part. Noah Lyles for the U.S. claimed bronze in the 200 meters. That was after he won gold in the 100 meters. But he claimed that bronze in the 200 meters with COVID in a 102-degree fever, and as someone who has asthma, been a lifelong sufferer of asthma. So pretty remarkable that he was able to medal in an event where he's like deathly ill. The USA's Kenny Bednarek got silver, and Botswana's Letsile Tobogo claimed bronze in that 200-meter final. Grant Holloway from Chesapeake, he won gold in the 110-meter hurdles. Daniel Roberts, also of the USA, took silver. Armand Mondo Duplantis representing Sweden, but from America his whole life.
Oh, he's at
He,
LSU.
yeah,
So
so
where
he
he
set a
is?
world record in the pole vault to win gold. Interesting thing, reading and learning about him. Yeah, his mother's Swedish, father's American. Born in Louisiana, grew up in Lafayette, Louisiana, his entire life. His dad was a big pole vaulter, and he grew up pole vaulting since he was, yay high. And he's at LSU or just left LSU, but he represents Sweden because the Swedish Federation offered the pole vaulting coaching job to his father several years ago, and his dad took it. And because of his mother's heritage, that's why he represents Sweden. So there's your
Interesting.
difference between us winning solo most golds and tying China is Mondo
Oh,
Duplantis. Interestingly enough. Shelby McEwen, he lost in a jump off to earn silver in the high jump. It was kind of crazy. That was another gold that would have put us over. They had the option to take the tie, and him and the other person would have gotten gold. But they decided, hell no. We're not taking two winners. Two men enter, one man leave. We're
they did.
going
Well, they
for a
did
jump
that
off.
in
And
Tokyo.
yeah, exactly. In Tokyo, it was two different guys. They decided to take the tie and each get gold. Didn't do it in this case. They had so many jumps, they were exhausted. They had to literally lower the bar lower than what these guys had done the previous jump. So literally, they had to lower it two things down for them to clear it eventually in the jump off. And McEwen eventually lost that, but still got silver. Gabby Thomas from
UVA.
no Harvard.
What?
Pak the
Oh my
Khan,
god.
Harvard Yard. Gabby Thomas
fair.
from Harvard. She
That's
won
not fair.
gold in the 200 meters. She was also part of the 4x100 meter relay, which earned gold, with Sha'Carri Richardson running the leg, chasing everyone down, which was pretty awesome. And she was
Oh,
also
was
part
that
of
the
the
one where
4
she
by
stared?
yeah, she
She stared. She looked over to know where she was at and was like, "Oh!" And that clip to me is one of the best clips of the Olympics because just her level of like technique, everything she's doing is so perfectly that she still like does it, comes back, and it's like I thought it was just so badass.
well, she's
Badass.
taking a look at where
Badass.
Yeah.
badass. Yeah, it was pretty sweet to see her just chase those people down. But Gabby Thomas was also part of the 4x400 relay, which earned gold, and Sydney McLaughlin-Lavroni was also part of that team as well. So Gabby Thomas came away with, I think, 3 golds, which is pretty awesome. Rai Benjamin, he avenged his loss in Tokyo to Carson Warholm in the 400-meter hurdles to win gold in that, which is pretty cool to see. They'd kind of created a kind of rivalry where they're kind of some guys, sometimes Benjamin would win, sometimes Warholm would win. Warholm had the world record, I believe, but Rai Benjamin claimed gold in that, which was nice to see. Cole Hawker upset Norway's Jakob Ingebrigtsen and Team GB's Josh Kerr to win the men's 1500 meter, which is pretty amazing. I don't know if you saw that race where he basically closed these guys. They're both out in front. He came right along the rail like a horse and just went right past them and blew them away. And not only did he get first, but fellow American Yard Nagus from
UVA. You
What
gotta
no Notre Dame.
God.
You got to stay up. Notre Dame. Yard Nagus went to Notre Dame. He got bronze in that, which was both kind of big upsets. Like basically going in that race, it was Ingebrigtsen and Kerr, and it was like, okay, who's going to get gold, who's going to get silver, and then you got 9 other guys going to battle it out for bronze, right? But for us to come away with the first and the third in that was a pretty big upset, pretty amazing. Sticking with kind of another upset, Quincy Hall from the U.S., he got gold in the men's 400 meter. He chased and walked everyone down. That was a pretty amazing run from him. He looked like he gutted it out. Like the most American run ever from Quincy Hall. Like it was like watching Rocky in the ring, literally out on his feet, but he's not going to give up and he's not going to give in. And Ivan Drago's pummeling him, and he just somehow makes it. Like literally, the announcers were like, "Oh, Quincy Hall's done. Look at him. He's done." No, he somehow, with all ounce of his strength, walked these dudes down to win gold in the 400 meters. That was pretty awesome. That was like a top moment, at least for me.
Mm-hmm.
Tara Davis Woodhull from the U.S., she won gold in the women's long jump. Jasmine Moore got bronze in that, which was nice to see. China, they swept all of the golds in diving, men's and women's, and all of the golds in men's and women's table tennis. So literally, they went 8 for 8 in diving and 5 for 5 in table tennis for 13 golds out of 13 opportunities in those two disciplines.
Yeah,
which
where'd
is
they finish in the medal count?
pretty amazing.
Second place.
Yes, we'll get to that. But yes, they did finish second. But it's kind of amazing. I wonder where they would be if they didn't have those two. I mean, that's literally 13 golds out of 2 disciplines. Which, I mean, it's pretty amazing, though. Just straight up be that dominant in those things that you just don't lose. The U.S. women's national soccer team, they won their first gold in 12 years, thanks to Mallory Swanson's second half tally and Alyssa Nair's goalkeeping. They won their final, I believe, 1-0. Yes. Pretty amazing stuff there. Do you know who Mallory's husband is?
Yeah, it's Dansby Swanson. I said this last week. Pay attention. Keep up. Keep up.
Dansby. Good.
Dude, Alyssa Nair played lights out. That was so fun to watch. It was stressful as hell, but so fun to watch. Holy. I think like all the OGs that like we grew up watching, like Rapinoe, Morgan, Ertz, all those like former female players that, you know, aren't on the team anymore, we're all just gassing that girl up.
Yeah,
the whole match. It was awesome.
Yeah, so Nair becomes the first goalie ever to pitch a shutout in a World Cup final and in an Olympic final, which is a pretty amazing feat. Dude, only person ever to do that. More Olympic final stuff. Our U.S. men's basketball team, they held off France 98-87 to win the gold. Held off France because every time that like someone would drain a three for the U.S., France would just come down and just answer. Like they couldn't put France away, to France's credit. But I don't know if you saw, Steph Curry was just ridiculous. He hit a couple shots that are some of the best shots you're ever going to see, ever. Like literally it was like watching him do warm-ups out on the court. And he did it in, you know, arguably the biggest stages you could have with the most pressure in front of a hostile crowd and in a hostile environment. So he had 24 in that victory. In the semis, LeBron, he had the 4th ever Olympic triple-double in the comeback win versus Serbia. So they were down a decent amount and had to come back, I think, by as much as 17 in that second half. And they were able to come back and win. LeBron had a triple-double in that game. Coincidentally, the other triple-doubles, the first one was by some Soviet player. Don't even know what his name is that long ago. The other one was by Luka Doncic, and the other 2 are by LeBron, which is pretty remarkable. Our women's basketball team, they also won gold. They also beat France. Theirs is a little more, I mean, just as that amazing, but it was nail biting. They won by 1 point, 67-66, to win their 8th straight gold medal, which was pretty awesome to see. Pretty amazing.
Dude,
amazing. Watching U.S. versus France in both.
Watching that game, the women's game, you would have thought that I was John Goodman and Lebowski. I was just over the line. Market 0.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Yeah, that was what an ending. Oh my gosh. Not built for the moment, I see.
Yeah, so I mean, it was amazing. Those 2 games lived up. It was nice to see them. I mean, it also just shows how much the rest of the world, and I think we've talked about this before, has closed the gap on American basketball. It's no longer just, the U.S. is going to blow everyone out and will not be competitive. No, I mean, those were super competitive games that really could have both gone the French way if a couple things went this way or that way. You know, like if Steph Curry isn't, you know, an unbelievable shooting god out there, and if you, like I said, you have a couple things go the other way in the women's game, it just changes the whole narrative. But it was nice to see the U.S. get both of those golds on the last couple days of the Olympics. Going to volleyball, Italy women, they beat our U.S. women for gold in the volleyball, so we got silver. But the U.S. men beat Italy for bronze, so that was kind of, you know, little give and take there. Couple other cool things. Our men's 4x400 relay set an Olympic record with their gold medal win, which is nice to see them avenge the 4x100 just debacle that we don't need to talk about. Olivia Reeves set an Olympic record in 71 kilogram weightlifting to win gold, which is pretty awesome. for the U.S. Hampton Morris, he won bronze in the men's 61 kilogram weightlifting. It's the first U.S. men's medal in weightlifting since 1984. So that was amazing. This kid's 20 years old. He trains in his garage. You literally would think nothing of this kid if you saw him walking down the street. But he's an Olympic medalist in weightlifting. Amazing.
What's 61 kilograms in American?
I don't give a shit. It's not in American. I'm not going to do the conversion.
It's 134 pounds.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you. Sarah Hildebrandt, she won the women's 50 kilogram freestyle wrestling gold, which was pretty nice to see there. Kind of wanted to finish, all the talk of these events with a U.S. gold. So I finished with Sarah Hildebrandt there. Our final medal count, as Kamala alluded to earlier, the U.S., they won the total medal count. I believe 126 was their total. But they tied for the most golds. So you could say we won golds, we won total medals. So 40 golds, 44 silver, 42 bronze.
Yeah,
pretty even split. Yeah, split. Mm-hmm. So yeah, pretty good Olympics. I would say from our perspective. China finished second in the overall medal count and tied with us for same amount of golds. So we win the tiebreaker because we had more. But 40 golds for China, 27 silver, 24 bronze. Team GB finished third in total medal count, but way down on the list in terms of total golds. They only had 14 golds, but 22 silver, 29 bronze. The hosts, France, they had 16 gold, 26 silver, 22 bronze. And Australia rounds out the top 5 in total medals with 18 golds, 19 silver, 16 bronze. The third most golds, though, go to Japan. They had 20 golds, but they're kind of a little further down on the list because they didn't have as many other medals. Any closing comments on the Olympics before we get to our own personal gold, silver, and bronze from the games?
Land of the free, home of the brave, baby. We'll see you in 2028.
Shock and awe.
Yep, coming for you.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Snoop may be hosting everything at that point. Actually, Snoop may be president at that point. Let's be real.
Can I have a hot? I'm glad you brought that up. Can I just have a hot take? I'm glad he's over there having fun and that he's getting paid to do it. I thought it was a distraction. I would have much rather have had more Olympic coverage than him and Martha Stewart and their get-ups.
Yeah,
I'm sure a lot of the athletes appreciated it, and like at the end of the day, that's kind of what it's about. It's about the competitors on the field representing their country, and I'm sure like a lot of them, especially like because the Olympics, at least for me, is a showcase of sports that I would never really take time to like put on, right? Like I'm not going to stay up and watch like a ping pong tournament. I'm not going to find like a televised gymnastics event and watch that. So I mean, that's why I watch the Olympics, is to see the best athletes from sports that I never really watch compete. And I'm sure they're all super, super stoked because they're not household names. And Snoop Dogg's here watching us. Oh my gosh. But I could have done without all the Snoop coverage.
So I will, just to be devil's advocate and counter that, by showing Snoop and things like that, it gives more relevance to these sports that you just point out in a lot of ways aren't relevant. So by having him there and these other celebrities, it kind of makes it important, right? For the viewer, it makes it important because it shows that, hey, this has to matter. Why
Your
else
sport
would
is not any more important because there are
it raises the viewership, the popularity. It raises how many people are going to want to go to the Olympics. It really does, because it's one of the same reasons why in a lot of tennis tournaments, right? A lot of tennis finals, there are a ton of celebrities in the stands for those tennis finals. And I like tennis. You guys have said before, like, you guys don't follow tennis that much, but it makes that final relevant because Alec Baldwin is sitting there courtside, or like the king and queen, or all these different people are there.
You led with Alec Baldwin?
He's
oh
notorious.
My God, prove my point more.
He's notorious for being at the U.S. Open. He's always there at the final. He's a mainstay there. But there's you see Derek Jeter being there, people like that. Aaron Judge showing up for a round. Like it makes it relevant. It's the same.
I
kind
disagree.
Of thing.
There's no way
like
people
Spike
are
Lee.
There's no way people are scrolling through cable or YouTube TV and going, "Oh my gosh, gymnastics! Snoop Dogg's there."
100% they are.
Bullshit.
1,000%.
It's not even in the description.
1,000% people are there to see who's in the stands. The same reason that these people all bought tickets to a meaningless Jets Chiefs game to see Taylor Swift in the box. And Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively and all of them there and Hugh Jackman. Same reason.
That's
same 100. No,
you can't say that an event that
1,000%.
Taylor Swift is at is comparable to an event that Alec Baldwin is at. Oh my god.
100% people are tuning in because they want to see the celebrities who are at the event. 1,000%. That is one of the reasons.
Then they need to get
and
it
that
together.
Is 1,000% one of the reasons that people want to go to the Olympics.
If any
they
of
want
those
to see
people
who's
are
there.
listening, don't ever admit that. I'm gonna roast you.
It is a reason to go. It gives it relevance. If the
it's
Super
a reason
Bowl,
to go, not a reason to watch.
If the Super Bowl had 0 celebrities at it, 0, and all the fans there were just pure fantasy football goons, it wouldn't be as big of a deal. It really would not be as big of a deal.
It'd be so much better.
It would be irrelevant.
It would be 1,000 times better for an actual sports fan.
Doesn't matter though.
We also need to agree that there's a difference between being at the event and watching the event. No, there's no way with all the stuff that's at your disposal on your TV, especially with smart TVs. There is no way you're putting on an Olympic like rhythmic gymnastics event because you think Will Ferrell is in the audience. No,
100%.
Will Ferrell was competing.
You might go to the event. That I'll give you, but I'm not. I can't concede I'm putting this on because Martha Stewart's and Snoop Dogg are in the audience.
1,000%.
No,
I guarantee you, people were putting on women's water polo to see Flava Flav in the stands. 100%. I would guarantee several
probably
months
to confirm
paycheck.
that he's alive because a lot of people up until these Olympics probably thought he was dead. And that's real talk. I thought he was bankrupt or serving time for tax evasion. Didn't know he had the money to sponsor a water polo team. Good for him, though. I want to talk about that later, by the way.
So I disagree. I think that there's a reason they do it. There's a reason they show
Kevin
up.
Bacon wasn't in Footloose. Kevin Bacon wasn't in Footloose. Nope.
I said yes, it was the main character.
Nope. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Dustin Hoffman in Star Wars.
So let's talk Olympics.
Well, yes, I was gonna say, our individual personal gold, silver, bronze, our top 3 things from the Olympics is kind of how we did it. So, right, so what thing you caught your eye the most that you thought was from all the Olympics, that best event, that best person, that best performance, whatever it is, that'd be your gold, then your silver, then your bronze. So does anyone want to start with what they put their top things from the Olympics, the whole Olympics?
I'll go first.
Kamala?
In typical fashion, I have an honorable mention. Honorable mention, the hooping or hula hooping. I'm sure they don't call it hula hooping, but the hula hooping at the rhythmic gymnastics, electric, absolutely electric. Holy! If you didn't get a chance to watch rhythmic gymnastics and see anyone do their hoop routine, it's incredible. They're doing remember you would do the backspin with the hula hoop, and it would you would think it was and do some magic finger waves, and the hoop would come back to you. They're doing that minus the finger waves, and then cartwheeling into it and launching it 80 feet into the air, and then catching it on their big toe. It's insane to watch. I could not have gassed that event up more. I was so stoked to watch it. So honorable mention, rhythmic gymnastics, specifically hula hooping. Number 3, Yuto Horigome winning a second gold medal in street skateboarding. He's now 2 for 2 in skateboarding medals. The 2 years that the 2 Olympics rather that skateboarding has been in the Olympics, Yuto's won gold both times. This year he beat out a absolute dog in the skateboarding world of Nyjah Houston and Jagger Eaton. If you ask my brother, Jagger sucks, but I kind of respect the game. Shout out Kevin. What up, Kev?
Thanks for alienating our listeners.
Yeah, and then Nyjah Houston, I think he won bronze.
Yes,
is just probably the biggest American name in skateboarding since Tony Hawk.
Bigger than Sheckler. Sheckler was big because of his.
Sheckler hasn't done anything.
He hasn't, but how young he was.
He was big, but Nyjah was the prodigy. He was the guy who had been doing it for so long. He was a trailblazer and pioneer in street league skateboarding as well. He just dominated that. It was awesome. So Yuto Horigome winning his second gold medal. Congrats, Yuto. And then with the Olympics coming to LA in 2028, there's no doubt in my mind he's going to be going for a three-peat. Number 2, or I guess my silver, I got to go back to rock climbing. Rock climbing was just when rock climbing was on, I was insatiable. I could not get enough of it. I'm locked and loaded. I'm going back. I'm finding highlights. I'm DVRing it or recording it, I guess is now what people say on YouTube TV. Rock climbing was just one of the best things. Just watching them just so fluid, so fast, up and down the slab. Nick, if you didn't listen to last week's episode, the slab
I
is what
heard.
they call the rock.
Yeah.
And then number 1, it really shouldn't be a surprise because I bleed red, white, and blue, brother. Number 1 is USA winning the medal count. It's a numbers game, and we supply the numbers. We let the athletes take care of the rest. Land of the free, home of the brave. Go America!
Hell yeah.
Thank you, Kamala. Boy.
All right. In my 3 spot, the bronze medal, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I had Simone Biles and her redemption tour. I think people don't really understand how much of a mental game that was for, she got the yips in the last, or the twisties as they call it in gymnastics, in the Tokyo games, and for her to come back from that, usually when you get that, that is, you're done. So her to come back and win the all around, or win the team all around, everything, I thought that was awesome. Silver, Kristen Faulkner and her story. I mentioned this last week. Coming from Alaska, going to New York to work as a venture capitalist, taking a beginning cycling class 7 years ago, saying, "Yeah, this is good. I'm good at this. And I like it." And then going to train in California full year round, and then winning a gold. Actually, she ended up winning 2 golds. Yes. She won the individual, and then she won the team indoor track. And then in my gold number 1 spot, Steph Curry and what he did at the end of that game. That was the best shooting performance I've ever seen. And he's the only one that can get away with LeBron James and Kevin Durant standing there wide open as they go to double team Steph Curry. He's the only one that can get away with him shooting.
I mean, Durant was literally I got to get the ball back. Yes. The best shot right now is you, regardless
they did
of where
a great job of being unselfish and knowing who was hot and knowing that Steph is he's gonna win this game.
Yes,
so
that
Booker
team,
and Durant did such a great job with that.
Yes. That team was put together much better than other teams. Guys like Devin Booker and a Halliburton and a Derek White and a Drew Holiday, those were essential pieces to have that. In the past, the U.S. would have skipped over those guys and been we're going to make sure we're going to line up who we think are the top 10 players, and we're not going to care how they fit. You're right. The passing that they displayed throughout that entire tournament was phenomenal. It never felt like at any point in time someone was sitting out there saying, I only have 6 points. I need to get to double digits. Never.
Well, think about Steph averaged, 7 in the first 3 games or something, and then averaged 25 in the next 2.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, I mean, what is the best shot? I mean, and nothing symbolizes that more than the way Steve Kerr coached that team by knowing, hey, the best matchup in this game is if Jason Tatum doesn't play. The best matchup is if Joel Embiid doesn't play, right? Or maybe Bam Adebayo is going to play from pretty much the whole game. So he knew the best matchups, the best chemistry on the floor, and that was pretty remarkable to watch. It was much different than watching pretty much any other U.S. men's basketball team that we've seen in our lifetime, right? Thank you. Yeah, so my honorable mention, or just the 4th place, just missing the podium, was the U.S. women's rugby team. We've talked about this before, but they had that walk-off, essentially touchdown, whatever touch or try, to beat, I think, Australia in the bronze medal match to claim the first ever medal in rugby. For the U.S., it was pretty amazing. It was, I said this before, it was the equivalent of the Deshaun Jackson miracle at the Meadowlands too. And to do that on the Olympic stage was nuts. I still can't get that. That memory burned. Who? Right, that's pretty amazing. That's my honorable mention. My bronze goes to Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone, who I mentioned earlier. Her just pure on a different level in an event that's not easy. Like it's an event that a lot of different things can go wrong because you're having to jump every other, it seems like every other step almost, right? Every about 10 yards, they have those hurdles set up. And she's running these laps in like 50 seconds. She's running a lap on the track in 50 seconds while jumping, almost stopping to jump 10 times, which is nuts. I don't know if any of us could go on the track and just run a lap in 50 seconds. And she's doing it while jumping over things.
There's no way.
No, so that was pretty amazing. For me, silver, I went with Steph Curry. It was hard to deny, like you said, boy, maybe the best shooting performance you will ever see in game. Against, again, no slouches. Not like he's out there playing, Angola with no one out there. He's playing against arguably the second best team in the world in France in a hostile environment on the road, essentially, right? It's a road game.
Yeah.
And
I think
doing
the situation
magnified
of it. Yes.
Insane. And because it also, you would argue, the U.S. needed each of those shots because, like I said earlier, France kept coming down and answering. Right, Fournier would hit some three. Some random dude you haven't even heard of just drain a three. Nando De Colo, who has been essentially retired for years, hitting step back twos. The U.S. needed every ounce of Steph Curry, and that was just unbelievable. It was like he can't do it again, but he's going to, and he's going to make it.
I mean, there's a reason why he's the greatest shooter of all time, and it's not close.
Yes. And my gold, I went with two people for gold because these events happened, I believe, on the same night. But they were both, I referenced them earlier, upsets from the track. Quincy Hall in the 400 and Cole Hawker in the 1500. Neither guy was really expected to win. They thought they had a chance to get on the podium. And these dudes, when it mattered most, put together the run of their lives. And it was unbelievable to watch them, again, chase down the favorites and grit through it. And like I said, that to me is the most American thing I saw this entire tournament was those two guys. Like I made that Rocky analogy. That's what it felt like, was Rocky stepping through each time. Oh, you ain't so bad. Oh, you ain't so bad. And just taking it to him. Like, I will not quit. You will not get me to quit. This is what we do. You can never count me out. I am going to beat you because of the three letters on my chest.
If I
that was Cole Hawker and Quincy Hall.
Anyone could change.
Yo, Adrian. Yeah, so Cole Hawker, Quincy Hall, that was my goal. That was remarkable. That was my favorite part. Anything else before we move on?
I didn't bring this up because I thought for sure one of you guys had seen it and would put it in your moments, or in your, I guess, podium for this segment. Did you guys see the stat that there's a high school in America that's produced an Olympian at every summer games since 1952?
It's amazing.
Isn't that just ridiculous?
And it's a public school. It's not like a private prep school that recruits people. It's a public school in Long Beach, California.
One of the school administrators had been there long enough because people are retiring later in life now. But they had been there for a while and had noticed oh wow, that person was here when I was there. That person was here when I was there. And so they reached out to someone from the Olympic committee, and they said, we don't know because Olympics don't really keep a high school stat line.
No one's literally ever asked that question before.
Yeah. And so they went through and combed the archives of their alumni and found out we've had Olympians at what is it, a 74-year streak or something ridiculous like that, or 76-year streak, 72 maybe. Math, sure. But yeah, isn't that crazy? I thought for sure one of you would have brought that up.
I completely forgot about it.
I would have been remiss if I had let that skate by.
Yeah,
good call.
Yep, I like it. So that's gonna do it for our opening top catch segment. I love it. Like I said, on to 2028, right? LA 2028.
Yeah, here we go.
Yep.
See you in 4 years.
Yep. So, but that's going to also bring us to our Mimosa Minute for this week, brought to you by Maine & Co. Maine & Co., the creators of the modern mimosa, are committed to supporting women's athletics and empowering women everywhere to chase their athletic pursuits. Follow them on Instagram at maine.co and visit them at mainsip.com to order your modern mimosas today. So a couple things you kind of mentioned. One of them was the women's cycling. I was going to mention them. Not only Kristen Faulkner, right?
Yep.
Kristen Faulkner.
Kristen Faulkner, yep.
Like you said, that crazy venture capitalist, like a normal schmuck like us, turned Olympian. She got, like you said, got with 2 golds. That individual road race, and then the women's cycling team pursuit got gold.
It was the first, by the way, that gold that she had in the individual cycling race was the first time the U.S. has won a gold in that event in 40 years.
Yeah, just remarkable, crazy. So my other couple ones here, Sifan Hassan from the Netherlands.
I knew that one.
She won gold in the women's marathon to go along with bronzes in the 5,000 meters and bronze in the 10,000 meter. Ugh. She won gold in those 2 events in Tokyo, so 5,000 and 10,000 meter. And so she's now the only woman to have won gold in the 5,000 meter, 10,000 meter, and the marathon in the Olympic Games, which is crazy. I mean, that's nuts. Like the amount of mileage, it's like she covered 32 some miles in her runs across the Olympics.
Yeah, so she ran 57,000 meters. So what is that mileage?
Well, you also got to think too. Those 5,000 and 10,000 meters probably had earlier rounds, right? She probably had to run multiple times in those.
35 miles of 35 miles of like medal races.
Yes, just nuts. My other one though, going to golf. The women's golf tournament wrapped up. Lydia Ko, she won the Olympic golf gold. And she had been kind of admired in a little slump. Like a couple years ago, she was the world number 1. She looked like the next face of women's golf. And she kind of, has taken a step back. But she was so dominant in those few years that she racked up so many points towards the Hall of Fame. The LPGA Hall of Fame requires X amount of points to qualify. Right, so there's no, this guy had a great peak, but he got injured, so we're not going to put them in the Hall of Fame, or we are going to put them in because they were that good. No, you got to qualify. I'm purely on merit. There's no debating about this. And that gold she just won in the Olympics gave her the 27 points to qualify for the LPGA Hall of Fame, which is amazing. She's the 35th player ever to qualify for the Hall of Fame. She's the second youngest to qualify for the Hall of Fame.
She's 27. Who was the youngest?
I believe it was Australia's Kari Webb. I believe is who the youngest was. I don't know how old she was when she qualified. But yeah, thought that was pretty amazing. Lydia Ko getting that done was nice to see. Anything else before we move on? Mimosa-wise?
Mimosa-wise, I like that. No, I don't think I have anything. I think you kind of wrapped up all the big stuff from the Olympics this time around. I think that was very good. I mean, watching Lydia was just electric. I mean, it was so good to see her win. Tess and I were out on the golf course Saturday when that wrapped up, and the group behind us, we were backed up on the tee box, so we were just kind of chatting it up. And the group behind us, we were talking to them about it, and one of the guys was like, "Yeah, I volunteered at one of the women's events a couple years back, and actually like met and got to have a conversation with Lydia, and it was so awesome. So I'm really, really happy, which is awesome. I mean, I think that's kind of like an embodiment of really the Olympics too. Like she's not American. She doesn't compete for the US of A. But he was kind of able to take pride in like meeting a professional athlete, rooting her on, and feeling happy that he got to see somebody like a professional athlete that he met win a gold medal. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like
and it makes her Hall of Fame eligible now too, right?
I know, which is pretty cool to get to there.
According to golf.com, she's the youngest to qualify for it under the current criteria. So they may have changed the criteria.
Yeah, just going by what I read. But, where's Lydia Ko from, boy?
I know she's from New Zealand.
New Zealand, yes. Very good.
New Zealand. Like Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
She's a Kiwi.
Yes, she is. She's a Kiwi.
Oi, oi, oi.
Oh, I'm used to sailing with the Kiwis. You know, they do everything different way.
Thank you. Thank
Good
you.
poll. That's a good
Yes.
poll.
So that's going to do it for our Mimosa Minute this week, sponsored by the creators of the Modern Mimosa, Maine & Co. As a woman-owned business, Maine & Co. have been championing women's athletics since 2020. Look for new beverage releases at mainsip.com and follow them on Instagram at main.co. That's going to kind of wrap up our Olympic talking. I guess my last thing, just to get it in there, because I know you guys I know you talked about it last week, but Scotty Scheffler, I feel like deserves another mention because of how ridiculous it was. It's kind of amazing. None of us put him on our podium, but to shoot a 62 in those circumstances to win gold by, I believe, a stroke is amazing. So he probably deserved an honorable mention or a podium spot on our top three, but there were so many great things.
Yeah,
But as Kamala said, I'd be remiss if I didn't just mention it just to get it out there.
I agree. I'm
100%.
surprised. Yeah,
100%. But it's kind of expected. Like it's unfair to Scotty to say it because what he's doing is amazing, right? I don't want to take anything away from that, but like he's almost 2,000 points up in FedEx, and it's just like. Of course he won gold, right? Of course he shot a 62 to come out and snatch it away. You know what I mean?
The way he did it, right? He's been the favorite to win every event basically this year, but the way he did this against the guys he did it against too, it wasn't like this was watered down, right? That field was really top heavy. There were some heavy hitters, and they all played really well, right? It wasn't like, oh yeah, there's some guys here, but then like half of them were schmucks this week. No, they all played really well. So for him to do it against those guys in those circumstances, in that moment, considering everything that's happened this year with Scotty too, it is just nuts. Right? That was, and it does really deserve to be mentioned on our podiums. I know, you kind of want to cover some other things, but that was crazy.
I'm surprised. Well, before we end the Olympics, I'm surprised you didn't mention the colleges and the medals they won.
Oh yeah, that was a reason why I wore this shirt. You're right.
I think
UVA was second behind another ACC powerhouse. They're actually second in the ACC in medals behind Stanford.
That's who you think of when you think of the Atlantic Coast Conference is Stanford, which
Harvard,
Ledecky.
Harvard was third, but
I saw some lists that had Cal up there.
Cal, I think, was fourth. Penn State, I want to say, was fifth.
They usually have like wrestlers and stuff.
But the UVA, they I believe had 7 golds, and I think on the last day they got 2. One in women's field hockey for the Dutch, Nigel, and one for the women's soccer team. They had someone on the soccer team.
Okay.
But yeah, nice. 14. Like I said, but technically second in the ACC behind.
I know, it's hilarious. Like they can't play in the ACC. It's just weird seeing like the ACC is like another Olympic medal. It's like Stanford's Katie Ledecky, and they had like little community notes like Ledecky when she was there. It was part of the Pac-12.
Yes, that's where we're at now. Yep. But yeah, that's going to wrap up our Olympic coverage. It's always fun. Like we said, on to LA 2028. But also the next Olympics, Winter Olympics coming up 2 years from now. That'll take us to our baseball segment brought to you by Bobo's Fine Chicken in Virginia Beach. Visit them on Shore Drive near Chicks Beach for some juicy homemade chicken and seasonal home-style sides. Grab some on your way to the beach or to a ball game. Bobo's and baseball, they ain't nothing better. So this week, we just kind of want to have an open discussion about some things in baseball. We're about 1/4 of the year left, so we're 3/4 of the way in, about 40 games or so left in the season. Coming into play Tuesday night, August the 13th, there was a 3-way tie in the majors for the best record, with the Dodgers, Guardians, and Orioles all having the best record in the league. The Yankees and the Phillies are a half game back in that. So that's 5 teams all within a half game of each other for the quote-unquote best in baseball, which is pretty amazing. Shows a huge range of parity that they have now. No one is running away with this like you've seen sometimes before. So I thought that bore mentioning. But I wanted us to come up with our to this point in the year, our MVPs, our Cy Young Award winners, and our rookies of the year. So who would like to give their picks first before we move on to some other
I'll go.
stuff? Kamlo?
Yeah. Rookie of the year. I have a tie, but I'm kind of leaning one way. Rookie of the year, Paul Skeens. And then
For the
he's
NL.
tied. Oh, yeah. And then Colton Cowser.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. Colton Cowser's solid pick. Like
Cy
that boy.
Young's.
Where
Go
all right,
ahead.
we could. I
Do you want to go through the rookie of the years?
Yeah, let's go rookie of the year. I like that you let off with that.
Sure,
Boy,
sure.
who you got?
NL Skeens. I think it's kind of running away with it. It's pretty easy there. And then AL, I was looking at Cowser. There's a couple. AL's a little bit more murky. Luis Heel, I think, is the rookie of the year for. I think he's been more impactful, I guess I would say, because right now he's basically the only good pitcher on the Yankees.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I had the same two people for my rookies of the years, were Paul Skeens and Luis Heel. Skeens are beating out our boy Shota Imanaga, and his Malort's-filled Rager is kind of slowed.
Well,
he's drinking too much coffee, not enough Malort.
Yeah, Skeens doesn't qualify yet for the ERA, but it's pretty. Yeah, he's pretty much.
If you want like a good bet, Shota's betting odds are insane. You throw $10 down on that, you're bound to win probably $5 or $6 grand. He was like,
or just lose $10.
Or just lose $10, right? I mean, low risk, high reward.
I mean, yeah. Unless
who needs $10 anyway?
Run.
Not people that are planning a wedding, that's for sure.
Yeah. But you're right, boy. The other people I looked for American League Rookie of the Year, I looked at Colton Cowser and looked at Jordan Westberg, but I was like, what? Jordan Westberg doesn't qualify. So I was like, well, crap, because technically he ran out of his rookie limits, I think, last year. Yeah, right. It was kind of like, well, who the heck is here? So Luis Heel does have, I think, a 3.25 ERA, which is really good for a rookie.
He's got a great ERA.
He's kind of slowed down. He got off to such a hot start. But you're right. He's been very impactful for the Yankees, a team that just cannot seem to get out of their way. It's nuts that they are, like we said, second best record in baseball, half game behind those other three teams. It's nuts that they're there. It's a testament to guys like Heel, but also to Aaron Judge, really. Cy Young and Soto. Cy Young, who you got, Kamla?
NL, I'm going Zach Wheeler.
Interesting.
And then AL, should we go on 3? You guys know what I'm going to pick?
I know who you're
on 3.
picking.
1, 2, 3. Corbin Burns.
Yeah, there you go.
I thought you were going to say Eric Bedard.
Eric Bedard.
No, Corbin Burns. He's been just an absolute stud on the mound for Baltimore. I'm going Corbin Burns, AL Cy Young.
Okay. I'll go NL Cy Young, Chris Sale. I think especially after what he just did last night.
Great pick.
Yeah, he's been. I mean, he's probably going to win Comeback Player of the Year too.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have that for baseball? I don't know if they do.
I believe so.
Okay,
they should.
AL, I'm going Scooble.
Yeah, I had a feeling you would.
Yeah, he's got the best ERA in baseball. Yeah, he's got the best ERA in baseball. Have you watched him pitch?
No.
He's easy 97, which is devastating. Like changeup. I mean, I'm a fan of Scooble.
That's fair.
Yeah. So for the second category in a row, the boy and I are going to agree on both. I have Chris Sale and Tarek Skubal as my Cy Young Award winners.
I feel like as wide open as the standings are, and as crazy as MLB's been, and it's going to be for the finish. The awards are pretty easy to figure out.
I wouldn't say
there's not a lot.
There's a clear cut kind of couple guys you get to choose from. Like I like Zach Wheeler, the Zach Wheeler pick he was kind of my second choice for NL Cy Young. AL Seth Lugo, I took a long look at.
Yeah,
he's been a revelation for.
NL Hunter Green. I mean, I want to highlight him because he just shoved again tonight. He's been on fire.
Logan Gilbert's been great for the Mariners, even though his win-loss record doesn't show it. He's been fantastic. So it
is just. I mean, I get that, but
it's hard to say they've been better than Skubal, right?
Yes. Correct. Like
And,
Scooble was sitting at a 2.53 ERA. Sale is second in the majors. Leading the NL with a 2.61. And look at their strikeout numbers.
Yeah, I was gonna say
you also have their strikeout numbers. Scooble's at 180 and Sale's at 177.
yes,
that's far and away above. Think about Burns right now, 2.71 ERA, which is insane. It's phenomenal. Strikeouts 137.
yeah. For me, the like you brought up, the missing piece or the extra that put both those guys over the edge for me was the strikeout totals.
Yeah.
In a day and age where we put such a premium on that, it does take into account in the voters' minds of that. Like, yes, you can be effective without striking guys out, but at the end of the day, if you strike everyone out, no one has ever going to have a chance to get on base.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why the Zach Wheeler pick by you, Kamlo, I think it is a good one because he could easily win it. As of right now, I think it's Sales, but you have one bad outing, and
So
Wheeler has one good one.
So I looked at betting odds when after I made my picks, and most of my picks are like either second or third in like Vegas favorites or how ESPN does their odds, and it goes along with exactly what you were saying, Stevie, is that the guys that you guys are picking, like the clear cut favorites, it's not even close, like in terms of like odds for like if you're gonna put money on somebody, right? Like second place is almost always like 4-digit plus money, whereas like the favorites are all in the negative. It's crazy. It's like if you want something like, oh, I'm gonna bet $10 and I'll get $10 back, like you bet on the favorites, right? But yeah, it's pretty clear cut in terms of like Vegas standards.
Yeah. That would take us to MVP. Obviously, there are other awards just than Rookie of the Year, signing an MVP, but I feel like those kind of fall.
These are the most prestigious.
Yeah, the ones that get the most attention, right? You have the Coach of the Year, or should be the Buck Showalter Coach of the Year award. But MVP is our last one. So, Kamala, who you got?
I'm going to go NL. I'm going to go with a guy from the Diamondbacks. I'm going to go with... I couldn't tell you how to say the last name. Ketel Marty?
Ketel Marte.
Yeah, Ketel Marty.
Ketel Marty. Ketel Marte.
Ketel Martini. Ketel One Martini.
There we go.
I'm going to go with him from the D-backs for MVP. And then American League. Should we go on 3? 1, 2, 3.
Judge.
Gunnar Henderson.
You douchebag. I knew you were going to do that. You just flip the table.
It's tough to make that argument, too, because his error numbers have kind of been up. I'm convinced he's playing with a bit of an injury at the moment, and they're not saying it. But I got to go with my guy, Gunnar Henderson, playing shortstop. And if it's not going to... you got to think it's going to be a shortstop, right? With the amount of like just stud talents we've seen, yeah, I know it's going to be Judge.
Judge. Judge. All right. NL MVP. I'm glad you mentioned Ketel Marte because Ketel Marty. Because he's the most underrated player right now in baseball, and I love. There's a few guys that I love, like Jose Ramirez. I think is one of the most underrated players, but Ketel Marte may have taken that from him. But he is awesome.
He's a fun dude to watch.
Yeah, he's got some electricity to him.
In my baseball algorithm, that dude pops up almost as much as like Orioles players. It's kind of nuts because I'm always watching and just like I turn the volume up to hear it, just like with crystal clear audio. Thanks to the Motorola Edge. Motorola, give us free stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, Ketel Marty.
Yeah, Ketel Marty is awesome, but he's not the MVP. NL, I have Ohtani as the NL MVP right now, of course. But however,
why wouldn't it be?
However, I do want to talk about Marcell Ozuna in this because I literally just saw MLB like just tweeted out their like top 5 favorites for NL MVP. It was like Ohtani. I think your boy Ketel Marty was third. And they had Bryce Harper and Lindor on there. And I was like, where the hell is Marcell Ozuna? Marcell Ozuna, I'm going to go through this.
Hitting 325,
He's
30...
hitting 302.
302?
Yeah, so if you go to the NL, Ohtani is leading in home runs by 1. And he's batting 2. So Ohtani's batting 298, 36 home runs, 85 runs batted in, and 33 stolen bases. And he's a DH. So I don't want to hear anything about like playing defense and stuff. He's a DH.
Mm-hmm.
Marcell Ozuna has 35 home runs, 90 RBI, no stolen bases, but he's batting 302. So he has a better batting average. I mean, they're right there. They're basically the same. 5 more runs batted in and 1 less home run than Shohei. And he's nowhere on this list. And he's been the Braves' most valuable player this year, besides Sale, of keeping them afloat and keeping them in the playoff race. I think he's been arguably the most valuable player for any team.
So I agree with all of that. The lists where I see him more prevalent than not, and like I checked a lot of the different, like I base a lot of like this stuff in like picks like for awards off of betting odds, because I think betting odds is just like, because that's someone that's going to do all that work for you, right? All that research for you, and that's what they're going to base it on, right? The people that run the house money always have the upper hand. Marcell Ozuna is typically like your 4th or 5th spot for betting favorites,
and it's because they don't trust him down the stretch, I guess. But I don't know why, if you're sitting right now going, I still think Ohtani is the MVP, and the stolen bases definitely help to have a 30-30 stolen base year. But Ozuna, you could easily make the argument that Ozuna has been the most valuable player for his team.
But it's most valuable player in the National League. Correct. There's the difference. I think I do understand he's kept them afloat. He's kept the Braves afloat. Where would they be without him? A lot of guys struggling this year. Ozzy Albies has been injured.
Acuna's gone. Strider's gone. Riley's just now starting to hit.
Possibly because we thought he was going to start hitting before, and then he stopped. Right. So I get that, but it's I think with him being a DH hurts him without those stolen bases, because it shows to a voter or a statistical person that you're one-dimensional, right? Whereas Ohtani can have those stolen bases and say, okay, this guy's making a further impact, whereas Ozuna, it's like, oh, he's just a hitter, right? It's kind of like why David Ortiz, I don't recall him ever winning an MVP, despite some incredible years.
But like also like think of it this way, like if you were like take the names out of it, right? Take Shohei and his massive contract out of it, but like imagine for a second that you're the GM of a team and someone puts a bunch of players and like a bunch of stat sheets in front of you, like you're gonna pick what you feel is the most valuable, and Shohei's stat line I think is just a little more valuable than Ozuna's.
Yes.
Right? And like Shohei is like minus, let's call it 1,800, minus 1,800 in terms of odds. Ozuna is in a 3-way tie at plus 8,000 with Ellie De La Cruz and Francisco Lindor.
So what helps Ohtani too is kind of the same reason that you brought up for Ozuna, is that right, the Dodgers, Freddie Freeman's year is down compared to what we're expecting from him. Mookie Betts was hurt for 2+ months, right? And who stepped up and has been there the whole time has been Ohtani. So it's kind of that's why you get that.
I understand. I mean, I think Ohtani's the MVP. I just think Ozuna needs to be in the second spot and be in that conversation.
I'm good with that. Who was your American League MVP? I don't think I heard that.
Oh, it's Judge.
Thank you.
It's not close. People are trying to make it close with Bobby Witt. Yeah, well, you have the wrong shortstop.
The wrong shortstop. Yes,
I don't think so. We got the shortstop.
The shortstop. No, it's Judge, and then I would say Jose Ramirez needs to be up there at 2.
He's in there,
and then Bobby Witt. I mean, Bobby Witt and Ramirez, you can go back and forth because of difference in what they do. But actually, I mean, you know what? No, I'm staying with that. Jose Ramirez should be 2 because they have the same amount of stolen bases. I don't think we realize that.
26, I think he got to.
He actually has. Yes, he has 1 more than Bobby Witt. So I don't think we realize that. So I would go Judge, Ramirez,
third baseman.
I mean, Ramirez is extremely valuable, especially for. I mean, they're both extremely valuable for their teams, but I would go Judge, Ramirez, Witt is what I would do.
I like it. So my MVPs, National League, have a caveat here. We've mentioned both these guys at length at this point, but I have Ketel Marte if the Diamondbacks make the playoffs.
Kettle Marty?
Kettle One Martini. I have shaken, not stirred, with a couple of olives in there. But yeah, I have Marte as that if the D-backs, I said D-backs make the playoffs.
I heard. Okay. Okay.
Way
to enunciate.
Thank you. Because I'm not the biggest fan of giving MVPs out to teams that don't make the playoffs, because my thought is, well, really, how valuable were you if you couldn't even get your team to the playoffs? And I know that it's so people say it's an
antiquated. More valuable people out there than you right now.
Yeah, so a lot of people say that's an antiquated way to look at it, right?
I agree with you 100%.
But I just it sits with me wrong. Like, you have to do something so out of this world ridiculous and be that far above everyone else to get an MVP if you don't make the playoffs.
I agree, and that's why Trout has those MVPs, is because he was
so that
ridiculous.
far above.
Yeah.
Yes. So if the Diamondbacks don't make the playoffs, it's Ohtani, right? And I not the biggest fan of giving a MVP to a DH because you're missing a big chunk of the game. Even if you're not that good defensively, it's still part of the game, right? The overall thing of baseball, like the designated hitter wasn't always a thing for that reason. Like, we kind of came up with that to generate more offense, right? Mm-hmm. So because of that, but he said, but he's already got a 30-30 season. He's probably going to get 40-40 this year, which is just stupid, right? And like I said before, and what the same way Ozuna's kept the Braves afloat, he's kept the Dodgers where they are. Yes, Teoscar Hernandez has been great. Tyler Glasnow has been great. But without Ohtani, where would they be? Right? And he's been phenomenal. He's been fantastic. He's arguably the best player in the world. He is in the conversation of top 2 player, in my opinion, with the American League MVP, which is Aaron Judge. You cannot deny what Judge has done this year, especially with the way they've been pitching him. They're pitching him like Barry Bonds. Like, the way they had to pitch Bonds is what – I mean, he's lucky to see a pitch in the strike zone. That pitch is probably not going to be a fastball. It's going to be something off speed, and he's still barreling the ball up. He's still hitting it to all fields. His average has just jumped remarkably. He's at 325, I think. And if it weren't for Bobby Witt –
he's at 331 now.
So he got several hits just now.
His average is currently sitting at 331.
Which is just asinine. When you think about the number of home runs he's hit, the number of RBIs he has, it's incredible. And yes, Soto's been a big help to that. Juan Soto's been fantastic this year.
Soto's,
but the rest of the team hasn't been anything.
No, I agree. Soto, I mean, any other year, he'd be right up there in an MVP conversation. He's second in OPS. He's hit 303 or 31 and 84. And it's like, God damn, I mean, that's great numbers. I mean, it's August 13th.
Yes.
But Judge is so far ahead of everybody. It's insane. I mean, he very well could win the Triple Crown.
Yeah. If it weren't for because Bobby Witt is batting about 345.
347. So but that will tighten up.
You never know. You don't know. Bobby Witt could continue to be hot and go on the heater. I think what's good about this is that now everyone is seeing Bobby Witt.
Yes.
Well, we, as baseball people, we've known about Bobby Witt for years. I mean, this is only his 3rd year, but we've known about him the previous 2 years and before that. But now baseball people, outside of us stat nerds and stuff, and us schmucks, people are seeing him. And they're like, holy crap, who is this dude? Leading the majors in average, going to be a 30-30 guy. And they go, wait, again? And he's been fantastic, playing arguably the most demanding defensive position in shortstop, right? Hitting in a spacious, cavernous park at Kauffman Stadium, right? So it's not like he's hitting in, Great American Small Park out there, or in Arizona or in Colorado. He's hitting in arguably the hardest ballpark to hit home runs in, right? And he's producing, and his average is that high. He has been phenomenal. And it's good that the rest of the world now is getting able to see it. And like, no, wait, now I got to pay attention to this guy. Yeah, you got to pay attention to him. You got to pay attention to the Royals from here on out, because he signed that huge extension before the season started. So he'll be there forever. So, I think that's good. But like you said, boy, it's Aaron Judge. He could probably stop today and still win MVP.
I think he could.
Oh, he could have stopped at the All-Star break. The numbers that dude is putting up, Stevie pulled up a graphic one of the shows, and the numbers that he had like around right before the All-Star break were what some people were having.
Yeah, it's what
for their
Bryce Harper-
career.
Yeah,
It was what Bryce Harper had for his MVP year in 21, I think is
Yeah.
what it was. That was Judge's All-Star break.
It's crazy.
That's what he put up. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. There's one before we move on from baseball. Yordan Alvarez and the Houston Astros are on fire.
Yes.
Yordan is inevitable. He is going to at the end of the year, he's going to hit around 300. He's going to put up 30 in 90 to 100, and it's pretty remarkable what he's able to do.
Yeah.
It was like, they had a slow start. Astros weren't playing though. I was like, nope, just stick to it. They're
What's
fine
even
for the
more
long season.
remarkable is he's able to do this without someone banging on a trash can in the dugout to tell him what pitch is coming. That's
Was he
what
there
makes
for
it even
he
more
wasn't there for
remarkable.
those years.
I know.
Yeah.
No. But Alex Bregman was.
Alex Bregman was, yeah. Maybe they
banging
started
on
doing
a
it again.
trash can.
Drumming on a street light.
Light.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Doug. Anything else baseball-wise before we move on?
No.
All right, so that's going to do it for our baseball segment this week, sponsored by Bobo's Fine Chicken in Virginia Beach on Shore Drive near Chicks Beach. Come on in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner Monday through Saturday. Bobo's and baseball, there ain't nothing better. And that's going to take us to, I know, a segment the boy is very pumped about, and that's our college football preview segment.
Let's go.
Last week we did Big 12. This week, what we got, boy?
Thanks for listening to part 1 of this week's episode. Listen to the rest of the recording in part 2